Are you enjoying the game today, too? Sega's 1990 arcade hit, Bonanza Bros.
And specifically, the landmark 1991 Mega Drive adaptation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when you just look at it, it seems like a fun, cutesy cartoon platformer.
Right.
But what we found diving into the sources is that this game was actually a remarkably sophisticated stealth action pioneer.
It was doing things years, and I mean years, before games like Metal Gear Solid or Thief really made evasion a cornerstone of the genre.
And that's only half the story. The real mission here is unpacking the bizarre cultural split at the heart of the game.
You've got the two protagonists, Robo and MOBO, these iconic figures.
The striped suits, the hats.
Exactly. And they hold two completely contradictory official identities.
It's wild. Depending on which side of the ocean you bought the game, they're either celebrated just as thieves.
Stealing evidence from corrupt corporations, yeah.
Or, bafflingly, they're just mundane security testers hired by the police chief.
It's such a fascinating case study in how localization can completely change the DNA of a game.
And we have to talk about the technical side, too. The arcade version ran on Sega's System 24 board.
Which was, their high-resolution powerhouse at the time. It's what gave it that gorgeous, almost pre-rendered look.
So bringing that home to this 16-bit Mega Drive,
yeah,
that was a mountain to climb.
A huge one. And it was handled by an external developer, ITL. It's really a study and successful compromise, both technically and culturally.
Let's start with that visual signature, because that's the thing that burned this game into my memory.
It was a side-scrolling action game, hit the arcades in June 1990.
And then the Mega Drive port landed in Japan pretty quickly after May 1991.
And the visual philosophy was everything. It had this very distinctive look, simple, geometrical.
Comical.
Right, and it intentionally gave the graphics a kind of plastic toy or CG-like aesthetic. It stood out completely.
Oh, it really did. It had this like high-quality sheen that made me think, this is the future of 16-bit. Do you remember looking at the box art and thinking the characters looked like they were sculpted out of clay?
Absolutely. That was the genius of the System 24 board. It was amazing at those round, shaded shapes.
So how did they pull it off on the Mega Drive?
Well, ITL had to be masters of color palette management and dithering, those tiny dot patterns.
To fake the shading.
Exactly. To keep that illusion of roundness and maintain that aesthetic despite the massive technical downgrade.
And that look is so important because it's what makes the whole premise work.
How do you mean?
Well, if the characters looked gritty or realistic, the idea of them being fun, righteous criminals would be a much harder sell.
Right. The simple, cutesy look lets them be playful anti-heroes, at least in Japan.
And that ties right into the game's objective. You're not just, running to the end of a stage.
No, you have a brutally strict time limit. 3 minutes, but that clock runs fast. And you're infiltrating these huge, multi-tiered buildings.
And they're not just any buildings. We're talking about the Wicked Bank, the fake casino.
The fraudulent mint.
So you have to collect all the target items, which are usually evidence of corruption, and then get to the airship on the roof to escape. It's pure high-stakes evasion.
So let's talk about the heroes pulling off this caper. The Bonanza brothers themselves. The inspiration is, well, it's unmistakable.
Oh yeah, it's the Blues Brothers. A great touch.
It really is. So you have Robo, player 1, in red, and MOBO, player 2, in blue.
And Robo's the tall, thin one, Mogo's the short, chubby one. Usually?
Usually, because in classic Sega fashion, the sources point out that the official Sonic Gems Collection website actually swapped those physical descriptions just to keep everyone on their toes decades later.
Well, confusion is the name of the game here, especially when you look at the official story.
Or stories, because we have two entirely contradictory narratives for the exact same set of sprites.
From the core of it, the cultural artifact.
Right, so in the original Japanese version, Robo and MOBO are skilled, legendary justice thieves. They're hired by an organization to infiltrate the corrupt establishments of a place called Bad Town. Their whole mission is to steal evidence of crimes and corrupt funds.
And that fits perfectly into a really popular trope in Japan, right? The righteous bandit.
Exactly, like Lupin III, a master thief with a strict code of ethics who only targets the truly wicked. It's a classic, marketable, anti-hero archetype.
But when Sega brought it overseas to the Genesis, that whole narrative was seen as unacceptable.
Right. Western markets, especially in North America, often had, well, let's call them ethical constraints against openly celebrating criminals, even if they're stealing from bad guys.
So the story was completely sanitized.
Completely.
Okay, but how do you sanitize smashing windows and stunning police officers with a stun gun?
Well, they redefine them as security testers.
What?
Apparently, they're hired by the Badville police chief to test the security vulnerabilities of these buildings and recover stolen goods.
Hold on, wait a minute. That makes absolutely no sense. They're hired by the police chief to test security,
Yeah.
and their method is to break in, knock out dozens of his own guards, and then flee with bags of loot in an airship.
It's aggressive QA, apparently, which includes, yes, violently incapacitating the police chief's own staff.
That is just so gloriously absurd.
The gameplay visuals are identical. The running, the grabbing loot, stunning guards. But the moral context is flipped 180 degrees just to satisfy cultural sensitivities.
The final security report must just read, vulnerability found. You can stun everyone and take all the cash. Recommendation, hire better testers.
Right, but regardless of whether they were thieves or high-damage security testers, the gameplay mechanics were brilliant.
This is what cemented its legacy, is all about non-lethal, concealment-based action.
It forces a totally different mindset. The core loop is that stun gun. You don't eliminate enemies, you just knock them out.
And this is the key. They will wake up and resume their patrol.
Which maintains constant tension. That guard you just stunned, he's getting back up in a few seconds, and you better be long gone by then. It forces you to think about speed in your route, not just clearing a path.
And what was so revolutionary for a side-scroller was the use of 3D depth.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't just stuck on a 2D plane. You could tap the buttons to move into the foreground or background, hide behind pillars, furniture, shadows.
To break their line of sight, it made the whole thing a puzzle, not a brawl. And the best tool you had wasn't even the stun gun, it was the door.
Ah, the Door of Pain. The most effective weapon in the entire game.
It really was. It's not just an entryway, it's a strategic crushing tool.
You time that swing just right, and you can stun, or basically crush, anyone standing behind it.
And you absolutely need that technique for the tougher enemies, like the riot guards.
Speaking of, the enemy variety is where the strategy deepens. The basic guards have batons, some have pistols, but the worst is the whistle.
Ugh, the whistle. One wrong move, they blow that thing, and every guard nearby is on high alert.
And you have to change your approach. The big riot guards, with those massive shields, you can't hit them head on.
No, you've got to flank them, or, even better, use that perfectly timed door crush.
Then there's that huge bomb thrower guy.
Right.
He takes 4 shots to stun and throws 3 bombs in a row. You have to treat every single encounter like a little puzzle.
And let's get to the screen layout, because that was so unique for the console version.
Right, the screen is always split in 2, even in single player.
And that's essential. In one-player mode, the bottom screen is you, and the top screen is a detailed map.
A live map.
A live map showing the whole stage, all the guards, and the exact location of every target item you still need. It's your mission control.
Now, some critics complained that it took up precious screen real estate.
Sure, it did.
But the strategic advantage was undeniable. You could plan your whole route on the fly.
And in 2-player mode, it's just cooperative mastery. Each player gets their own view. You can actually coordinate.
You distract that guard, I'll sneak past in the foreground.
Exactly. It was brilliant.
Okay, let's talk about the paint. I know you said ITL did a masterful job, but bringing that System 24 game to a tiny 4 megabit Mega Drive cart, there had to be some serious cuts.
Oh, they were brutal, but necessary.
I still mourned Stage 5, the department store.
I know. It had to go.
They just took it from us.
Look, to make the game fit and run smoothly, they had to remove 2 full stages, the department store, which was Stage 5, and the antique shop, Stage 10, plus all the bonus stages.
2 entire levels.
Yeah.
The necessary sacrifice of a generation. What else did they chop?
The sprites. They had to consolidate the sprites. In the arcade, the patrolman came in 3 sizes: tall, standard, and small.
Right.
To save every possible byte of memory on that cart, all of them were shrunk down to just the small, chibi height.
So not only did they cut 2 whole levels, they shrunk all the bad guys. That is the perfect summary of 16-bit development, shrinking the world down to deliver the core experience.
And despite those cuts, Bonanza Bros it was generally received very well for its originality, mostly.
Yeah, the big evaluation points were all about those visuals. That plastic look was always praised for showing what the Mega Drive could do when it wasn't just doing standard sprite work.
And for the home audience, that multiplayer was huge. The split-screen co-op was exceptional. It really was a must-have if you had a friend to play with.
But that unique design also led to some complaints. I remember the controls being a bit of a a sticking point.
Yeah, the movement, it was accurate to the arcade, but the jump mechanic felt really heavy or slow.
A little floaty, maybe?
Right, and for the precise platforming you needed in later stages, it could get frustrating.
And while the map was great, that constant split screen did reduce your play area. A pro for strategy, but maybe a con for visibility.
There was also the difficulty problem, because the home version had infinite continues.
The classic console port feature.
Some critics found it too easy once you memorized the enemy patterns. It kind of limited its long-term replay value once you'd mastered it.
And circling back to that great story swap, those ethical concerns over the theme, they had a legacy that haunted the game for a long time.
They really did. Decades later, when Sega was putting together the Sonic Gems collection for release overseas, they hit a wall.
What happened?
They had to completely omit the Mega Drive version of Bonanza Bros from the whole compilation.
They cut the entire game just for the rating.
Exactly. To maintain a universal rating in that market, the explicit depictions of violence, even just stunning police officers and guard dogs, was enough for the censors to say nope.
So just calling them security testers wasn't enough to hide what they were actually doing.
Not for every age bracket in every country, no.
It's a shame that a game that was so successful and ingenious never got a direct sequel, like a Bonanza Bros 2.
It didn't. But that iconic character design style, it immediately spun off into the look of the puzzle game series, Tant R in 1993 and Ichiran R in 94.
Oh, you can totally see it. They're like direct, adorable descendants of ROBO and MOBO.
And the brothers themselves still pop up. They were in the 2010 racing game, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing.
And what's so fascinating is that the sources say, for that overseas release, they used their original Japanese Justice Thief backstory.
They did. They briefly got to embrace their true anti-hero roots for a modern audience.
That ambiguity is part of their charm now.
It is. They also showed up as a solo unit in Project X Zone 2, Brave New World. And I love that their signature move in that game was, of course, using the door-crushing attack.
The legacy endures.
It's seen plenty of re-releases, too. On the Astro City Mini in 2020, the Mega Drive Mini 2 in 2022, it keeps showing up because it's just a brilliant game.
A few final bits of trivia for you, the learner, to file away.
The title Bonanza means a lucky strike or treasure trove. Fits perfectly.
And my favorite detail, if you leave your character standing still for too long, they get that classic idle animation where flies start gathering around them.
It adds to that strange plastic doll vibe.
And of course, for those of us who spent our childhood trying to beat it, we have to share the secrets. The Mega Drive version was full of cheat codes.
Oh, yeah. A, B, C, B, A on the title screen gets you the debug menu. You could adjust lives, time, hit points.
That's how we found that famous 11-person life glitch.
And for the time attackers, or, just us, there was the invincibility code.
A, B, A, C, D, C, C, B, C, A, B, A. Lengthy, yes, but total invincibility was worth every single button press.
In summary, Bonanza Bros is, I think, a definitive 16-bit masterpiece. It translated complex arcade visuals with surprising fidelity, and more importantly, it established a fundamental gameplay concept.
Non-lethal strategic evasion.
Exactly, concealment. Years before the stealth genre really exploded into the mainstream.
The true innovation wasn't just making a game that looked like a shiny plastic toy. It was in teaching players that the most satisfying victories often come from successfully avoiding the fight entirely. What other simple-looking game holds such a deep strategic secret while also juggling two completely different backstories?
I can't think of one.
Will the game be fun tomorrow too? Have a nice game.